Commissioner Allen,
Here.
Commissioner Delves,
Here.
Commissioner Karpetkov,
Here.
Commissioner Locke,
Here.
and Chair LePage.
Here. Okay, first item on our agenda is the public appearances. Anyone from the community may speak to the Planning Commission on any matters which are not on our agenda tonight of municipal concern. So you can come forward at this time and speak to us about anything you like. Nobody here wishes to do that? Okay, anybody online wants to address the Planning Commission? Don't see anybody.
Mike McWalters.
Pardon?
Where's Mike?
Where's Mike? He's missing. Okay. All right, so we will move on to, are there any announcements from staff or commissioners or
Not from staff, sir.
anyone in
Thank
the
you.
chamber here? Any announcements you'd like to make to the Planning Commission? Okay, seeing none. Move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is routine in nature, and items are usually considered in one motion, but any members of the public or commissioners may request any item be pulled for questions or comment. We have two items on the consent agenda tonight. We have the monthly activity report, and then we have a design study.
Chair LePage,
Yes,
I think we need to break that into two. Is that?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I believe we have a commissioner who needs to recuse himself from the development item. So what I would suggest, Mr. Chair, is you take action on the first part of the consent agenda with the full
Okay,
commission,
we'll
then let that
split those.
commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So we have two items, as I was saying, on the consent agenda. The monthly activity report, which we will handle first. So we have a motion to accept the monthly act.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Delves,
Yes.
Commissioner Karpetkov,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
and Chair LePage.
Yes. Okay, the second item, which commissioner has to recuse himself? Oh, she's gone. Okay, Commissioner Allen has to recuse herself. All right. So this is a design study. It's DS 23022, the Belias project, consideration of a final design study and associated coastal development permit for a 716 square foot addition to an existing one-story house.
I'd move approval of consent item 2.
I second.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Delves,
Yes.
Commissioner Karpetkov,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
and Chair LePage.
Yes, okay, the items are carried. All right, we move on to the public hearings. First item is a use permit. This is UP.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. I think because we broke it in half, maybe we just want to double check to make sure there was no public comments on that last item as part of the consent calendar. I don't
Okay.
believe there were, but that
All
would
right,
be just a double
did
check.
anybody from the public wish to make any comments regarding DS 23022? Okay, I don't see anybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I apologize for that.
No problem. Okay, move on to the public hearings. The first item is a use permit. This is UP 23105, and a design review permit is 23-106. This is Toro Sushi. Can we have the staff report, please?
Yeah, we'll just need, if the downstairs IT team can flip it over to there we go, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair. So the subject site is located on Dolores Street between 5th and 6th Avenues in the Panteals Courtyard. The subject application is a use permit and design review to expand the indoor and the outdoor seating. The indoor seating is proposed to be expanded into the adjacent tenant space, and the outdoor seating is proposed to be expanded throughout the courtyard. The existing seating throughout the courtyard exceeds the allowable per the existing use permit and is done through the proclamation of local emergency, which has been rescinded, and the current city council direction has been to the local restaurateurs to come into compliance with the underlying use permit by the end of the year. So the restaurant owner is proposing to amend the use permit to afford them additional outdoor seating within the courtyard. The existing use permit allows for 38 indoor seats and 8 outdoor seats. However, only 21 indoor seats exist on site, while 32 seats exist within the courtyard. Currently, the applicant is proposing a total of 41 indoor seats as well as 32 outdoor seats. However, staff's recommendation is to allow for 40 indoor seats and 20 outdoor seats. And I'll go through the reasoning for that proposed reduction throughout this presentation. So within space A, which is the existing restaurant space, there are 16 seats at, forgot to put the number of tables, but there are also 16 seats at a various number of tables and 5 seats located at a bar. And then the applicant is proposing to transfer the remaining 17 seats to space B, which is the new dining area in the adjacent tenant space at the rear of the courtyard. Per the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District regulations, they are also afforded 2 additional seats for a total of 19 seats within space B. So that would be 19 seats total within the new tenant space. So that would allow for up to 40 indoor seats within the new indoor dining area, and staff is supportive of that as proposed. And that is all just predicated on water availability. So in respect to the outdoor seating, the Municipal Code Section 1714-220D, Special Design Topics, outlines the requirements for outdoor seating. Item number 1, the proposal shall not result in a net increase in seating capacity. So this is the intent of this section is to ensure that staff-approved applications do not exceed the allowable over the existing use permit. However, this is a new use permit that we're considering today. So as long as water availability and building and fire code requirements are maintained, we can consider additional seating. So again, based on the proposed 40 indoor seats, Monterey Peninsula Water Management District regulations would allow for 20 additional outdoor seats without crediting against the businesses or the site's water permit. So again, while the applicant is proposing 32 outdoor seats, there is only water available for 20. So that is how we're landing at that 20 outdoor seat figure. So items 2 and 4 are very closely related. 2 being that the seating area shall not occupy more than 10% of the site area, no more than 30% of any courtyard. And item number 4 being that the site area shall be demarcated by landscaping or other site features to clearly define its outer boundaries, and that the boundaries shall be established to preserve a sense of openness and ease of access for pedestrians. So we estimate that this courtyard area is approximately 1,000 square feet. So in terms of looking at the staff recommended dining area, which is the area immediately adjacent to the northern wall of dining area A, which is this area right in here. This would meet criteria too. However, we don't have a defined demarcated area, which is similar to what we see in a typical proposal or a typical outdoor dining area. So this could be, a landscape area or just a trellis, a building alcove, something like that. So staff's recommendation is to use the northern building wall right here as the line of demarcation, and basically say that all the tables need to be lined up against this northern building wall, or as an alternative, up to 2 tables could be located against the northern building wall of this back adjacent dining room B building space. But either way, all of the tables need to be against the northern building wall. Like the previous item, 3 and 5 are very closely related. The area needs to be fully contained on private property, and outdoor seating, which allows for visual contact and incidental communication between patrons and passersby, are encouraged. So generally, number 5 is just going to be met if you have seating within a courtyard area. And the outdoor seating is fully contained on private property. However, we did identify in review of the application that there is an easement on the property. We aren't quite sure where that easement is located. We weren't provided with a survey. However, we do have a condition of approval that makes sure that the seating area is not located within that easement. Another concern we have, and a reason for locating the seating right up against the northern building boundary, is to make sure that pedestrian access to all the businesses within the courtyard is free-flowing and maintained. As you can see in the figures, the heaters kind of interfere with that path of travel, as well as the tables. So again, it's just to keep all of the seating in one area with that lack of demarcation. And then number 6, physical structures that enhance the comfort, such as windscreen heaters, exterior lighting, shall be shielded from view of the public right-of-way and from the interblock walkways, or be designed to be architecturally compatible with the village character and the adjacent buildings. So there was a section about lighting discussed in the staff report. The lighting discussed in the report has been removed from the site. However, that condition about lighting is still applicable. And then there's a condition of approval about removing the gas heaters from the site. That was at the direction of our building official. However, electric heaters may be used and applied for through a separate design review, which we are supportive of. So with the new use permit, there are a number of use permit findings to be made. Those findings have been made in the staff report, and the project complies or has been conditioned accordingly. And then this was not included in the staff report, but just kind of as an important aside, the existing business operates under use permit 13-2. There was a previous consideration to add 3 tables with 12 total seats within the courtyard. The Planning Commission required them to eliminate one of the tables for a total of 8 seats and move the tables to the southern side of the courtyard, or I'm sorry, the northern side of the courtyard. So these are the only 2 tables that are currently approved. So if this use permit and design review were to be denied and no additional seating were to be allowed in the courtyard, and it would, at the end of the year, the business had to revert to operating under the current use permit, these would be the only 2 seats that would, or tables that would be able to be used in the courtyard. However, staff, again, is supportive of 20 seats located against this northern building wall. And with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving a use permit and design review application as described on the screen. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for staff from the commissioners?
I've got one.
Mr. Commissioner Dels?
For staff, the question that gets to precedent, I think we're going to see more of these, a lot more probably, and it seems like whatever we do here today, well, do we set precedent, Brandon, or really is this one at a time on the merits? That's first half of the question, and the second half is specifically to the heaters, because they're everywhere.
Right. Yeah, no, those are great questions. We thought about that a lot, and that was part of the discussion when we most recently met with City Council as well. And so you can tell by the level of detail that Evan's gone through in this presentation that this project's been taken on its own merits, as will every single other one that comes through. Because that's one of the beautiful things about this village is that every site is so different. I mean, there's no other courtyard and walkway and mixture of businesses like this one. So each one will be taken on its own merits. I don't believe we'll be setting precedent tonight. As for the heaters, after the most recent city council meeting, we went around individually, person to person, using our code compliance team here, and delivered a friendly sort of correction letter. And all those correction letters basically said, you got to move your heaters or get rid of them. So this is where we're going with this. Those portable heaters are unsafe. Even if we tell someone to put them in the right place, the minute we walk away, when a guest wants to move it, it's usually going to get moved too close to a building or close to a plant. So they're dangerous, and we'd like to see them, like these folks are willing to use a safer version of a heater so their guests can be comfortable, but we protect against fire. So no, I don't believe we're setting precedent, and two, yeah, I believe this is the way we're going with the heaters.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for staff, commission? Okay, thank you, Evan. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, would the applicant like to come forward at this time and make their presentation? Well, before we start, typically I allow 3 minutes for your presentation. Applicants, I will allow 5 if you request it, and if you feel like you need rebuttal, I will allow additional time for that.
I think 3 is good. I'm not very good at this. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Rideout, and I'm the owner at Toro. Thank you for having us today. Thanks, Brandon and Evan, for all your work on everything. You guys have been great. Outdoor seating in the courtyard was the start of our business. Guests still come to Toro to this day with stories of their first visits, and a majority of guests request to sit outdoors. Many guests enjoy bringing their dogs, they enjoy the atmosphere, and some also still feel hesitant about sitting indoors for safety reasons. I'm at the restaurant almost every day, and I see how our little cottage has become a staple in the neighborhood. I see patrons that live or work close by who come to the restaurant multiple times a week to snag a poke bowl or an avocado roll, or just to sit with a glass of wine outside. Unfortunately, due to the size of our small restaurant, we often turn away guests frequently because we don't have enough seating indoors and outdoors. This past weekend, we turned away 62 people on Saturday because we didn't have enough seating. We are here today to ask to keep our proposed outdoor courtyard seating plan, and also to approve the expanded seating into the Kathy Sharp Gallery. We started this permitting process in March, and since then have contacted Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, John Kraft, owner of Kraft Electric Company, regarding the heater installation, and also a property surveyor to assist with the measurements of the courtyard and to locate the easement, which we do have the location of. John Kraft came to run testing on our electric panels to ensure that the heater installation would work, and he assured us that the stationary electric heaters would be safe for our guests. Until the heater installation is complete, I'm also asking that if we continue to use the propane heaters until at least the installation. If we can't provide our guests with heating outside, the seating becomes insignificant on the cooler days that we're getting now. These heaters are used in restaurants throughout the town. I also walked through today just to see, because most restaurant owners know that quality is more important than style. They are the best heaters to use to actually keep people warm. As far as the specific table placements and the site plan, we would find it favorable to keep the 2 small tables towards the front of the courtyard that are already approved in our existing use permit, in addition to the 4 tables on the north side wall next to Toro. These 2 small tables were part of the original city approval of our 8 seats, and they make the courtyard look more attractive than just lining tables along one side of the space. And then, not to beat a dead horse, but I know we're tired talking about COVID, but I did find it relevant to just look up a little local data on what's going on. And in California, there has been a 35% increase in hospitalization since the prior week, according to the state website. And in Monterey, the cases have risen from 2.4% to 8% in the last week, according to KION News 46. And then, just to wrap this up, our rent at Toro, it's not the same as it was in 2020. Our staffing is also not the same as it was. If we don't get any of the extra seating, we'll have to make some serious changes to the restaurant, and a lot of people may lose their jobs. My husband and I are both Carmel restaurant owners and Carmel residents. Our daughter goes to Carmel High School. We love this town. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to invite members of the public to come forward and address the Planning Commission regarding this application, if you'd like to. Please come forward. And it's helpful if you identify yourself, too.
Yep, thank you for having me. My name is Brian Lashever. This is my wife, Liz Lashever. I'm a merchant in this town. I've been here 25 years under a gentleman who's been here 48. Every weekend, I have myriads of people come in that I send to the restaurants. First, I'd like to cite the August 3rd pine cone, where on one side, if you can all see this, or if you can look it up online, it says, "Council may crack down on outdoor dining." On the same page, right next to it, it says, "Tourism numbers continue to lag." Now, I know these people personally because I walk up and down Dolores every day. They're hardworking. They've made a beautiful restaurant for this town. And all of my customers that I send there, they love it. They love the feel of sitting outside. I feel that these restrictions are needlessly restrictive. I'm hoping that the planning department will also not choke off their use of heating. It seems just very poor. In every city, in every county of California, there are outside heaters. I've personally seen people ask staff not get up and try to move it themselves. They're relaxing, they want to enjoy themselves. Ask staff, can we move this a little closer? Their heaters are not up against buildings. They're very conscious. And I disagree with you, sir, when you say they're dangerous. Sure, if somebody pushes one over, this is not things that happen. I see responsible adults dining it in the evening. I don't see toddlers running around them. I think that's a moot point. And as the owner said, with the COVID restrictions, even though they've been lifted, people want to sit outside. They like the charm, they like the feel of it. I don't understand why the city would want to cripple these people, make it hard for them, mess with their livelihoods. They have to lay off a bunch of people if this goes through. And again, it's needlessly restrictive. It's pretty, they're not on the street. I could understand if there were parklets in the road and you wanted to clear them for parking or something like that. But this is off the path, and if a gazebo, or I'm sorry, if some kind of partition is needed, again, I find that pretty restrictive. It's not on the sidewalk. It's past the threshold. It looks nice when you drive by. And again, I'm frustrated with a lot of the restrictions. They've made a gorgeous restaurant. It helps your city. And I don't get it. And I think that sometimes people need to go, okay, this is a win-win for everybody.
Sir, can you
make it hard.
Can you summarize? You have 3 minutes left.
That's all I really have to say.
All right, thank you very much. Next speaker, please come forward.
Good evening, and good evening as well, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brendan McLaren. I'm a local, and I'm 25 years old. I want to start off by saying that because it's going to actually have relevance with what I have to add to this conversation tonight, but just want to say thank you for having me here and allowing me this opportunity to talk to you. I got the chance to meet Stephen and Kristen a couple of years back once I came back to town after graduating from school in Southern California, and prior to that, going to school in Virginia. And being a boy born in Roseville, California, to a loving family, moving to Monterey, where my mom's side of the family was, I quickly developed the sense of community and home that a small town brings to someone like me who's very, very, very malleable at that age. And growing up, I started to learn about the most important things in my life were family, community, and overall happiness, and trying to make yourself and others happy. I moved away 3,000 miles to Virginia when I graduated high school, which was by far the biggest move for me and the scariest move, and I found myself miserable. Because even though I went to an area that was considered small for there, it still didn't give me the feeling of being in the small, loving, and caring community that I had growing up here. After meeting Stephen and Kristen, which are two of, in my opinion, the hardest working individuals that you can't find in just one city, one state, but an entire country, I saw many qualities in them that made me feel, these people are driven by work to help the community, to help themselves, and to create a sense of home. The first time I ate at their restaurant was during COVID. After 5 years of searching for that sense of home and community and only getting time of that sense and community when I came home on Christmas break or fall break or spring break or Easter break from college, I finally found it sitting at one of those tables along the wall. The smell of the ocean, hearing the waves, seeing all the people walking by speaking languages that I would never be able to understand because they travel from different parts of the world to be there and embracing that family and that culture that this community has. That's when I realized I would not have had this sense of hope if it wasn't for all of those environmental aspects, the nature aspects, and all of those passing bys that you get with outdoor dining at a place like this. Now I work as a full-time firefighter and I'm a small business owner, so there's a lot of qualities that I look for in these two for also owning my own business. But the one thing that business and fire and school and everything can't teach you is how to feel like you're at home. It's something that you can never ask a human, hey, feel like you're at home. Try it. It's impossible. You have to find it. You have to stumble across it. And I found my sense of home and I found my sense of happiness sitting at those outdoor tables. I know that this is not speaking from any statistics or any realization on how a planning committee may work, and I respect all the jobs that everyone does because at the end of the day, we all have the goal of helping the community and bettering ourselves and bettering it for the next generation. But if I'm a 25-year-old establishing the fact that I want to build a generation better for me, I have to start with something as simple as fighting and saying, let's not take away the beauty of outdoor dining, especially in a beautiful, cloudy Carmel-by-the-Sea. Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Would the next speaker like to come forward? Please come forward.
My name is Jim Moniz. I'm not 25 years old. I'm 66 years old. And in 2008, my wife and I decided we wanted to come. We were normally from San Jose. We wanted to live in she wanted to live in Pacific Grove for the fog. I wanted to live in Carmel for the fog. So we bought a house in Monterey. Beautiful, looking over the bay. Loved it, but it was isolated. And I knew as we got older, we wanted to be more closer to a community. So I actually convinced her a couple of years ago, we're new residents. We bought a house on Santa Rita, right by 2nd Street. Part of the reason why I bought that house is I would come to Carmel all the time, even though I lived in Monterey, because I love the community. I love eating outside. I don't care how cold it is. The colder, the better. I'm not a heater guy, but I've seen people move the heaters all around. I don't want a heater, but I think a gas heater is much better than an electric heater, but I'm not a specialist. So I'm not coming here for that. I will say, though, I should have done my homework because when I heard Kristen say they want to keep those 2 single tables, that's my favorite table. Because I love to sit there. I love to people watch. I love to sit outside. I love to have a nice glass of wine. And I can say I've seen them turn away a lot of people. So I give a lot of respect that you're willing to add more outdoor dining. I think that's wonderful. I think the Pocket, I think Toro, all of these restaurants I go to because they have outdoor dining. And I see people come to Carmel, and I agree with Brendan. I think that was Brendan that was speaking before me. I listen to so many different languages. People come here because Carmel, you've made this a wonderful community. And I'm so happy we bought a house here. And I'd love to see the outdoor dining. I don't have a strong feeling on the heaters. Kind of ironic, she mentioned John Kraft. I bought John Kraft's house. Never knew him before I bought his house. He's a great guy. I never knew Kristen and Steven before my son and I said, let's just go to a restaurant and let her pick the wine, let her pick the food. It's a phenomenal restaurant, and I think outdoor dining is what sets Carmel apart from most cities. People come here, they like to walk. They see people eating outdoors, and it's like, oh, that looks like a great place. But I do see them turn away a lot of people. So more seats and more outside seats is kind of what I'm asking all of you to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else in public like to speak to the Planning Commission? Please come forward.
Everybody, bring my poor manners for my beanie. I just found out this thing was going on, but I'm happy I did. Spoke with my dear neighbors, owners of Toro Sushi. A really cute couple too. I'm trying to live up to you guys. But I ran down here as fast as I could. I've got 3 kids. My restaurant is full service, busy right now, but I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to express both as a neighbor, we all live in town, and also as a restaurant neighbor, as also another husband-wife business with young children. I just want to speak on support of Stephen and Kristen. They have been the most wonderful addition to our community these past couple of years. I'm a longtime local. My kids are 7th generation in Monterey County. Some of the family came over in a covered wagon, actually, not just the boat. In any case, I have such profound and deep love for this community, and it's been so amazing to watch what they've built in such a relatively short amount of time, not least of which getting married during the midst of that, COVID, all the rest of it. They have performed so admirably, always with a smile on their face, always with an attitude of what can they do, not just to improve their business, but to improve the neighborhood. They're true stewards of this community, and a big part of the success of their business is that outdoor seating. We do have, forgive me if I'm repeating some of the earlier comments, but we do have obviously a large contingent of elderly people in this town. I know at my restaurant, we have a good amount of outdoor seating currently, but on days when I don't have the ability to accommodate everybody that wants an outdoor seat, like the nice little lady up the street, like, oh honey, I can't dine here tonight. I don't feel comfortable, or during the day for that matter. Just anecdotally, that happens a lot. So just to wrap it all up, they're good stewards of the community. I think they do beautiful business. They're wonderful neighbors, and I think that within your expertise and purview, if we can find a way to allow as many seats as possible for Toro, for the other restaurants in town, it is a huge asset to the community. Our neighbors love it. The previous speaker mentioned people from farther afield. It's the most European of feelings to be out of doors and sipping on a nice beverage, eating a good meal, and making friends with everybody who walks by. So with that, I'll defer the balance of my time, but thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the neighbors and on such good stewards of our little community here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. If you just kind of hold your applause down, we understand your enthusiasm, but your comments, what we want to hear, and that's what really is important to us. Anyway, your time, please.
Good evening. My name is Craig Gross, and my partner and I own Nomadic Gallery and the Daisy Rose Gallery that is right adjacent to Toro. One of the reasons we rented the space is because of Toro and the outdoor vibe. The sushi's incredible. These 2 people are incredible. Their staff. The spider roll deep fried with cream cheese is amazing. But the two spots that are out in the front are actually on our side of the walkway. And those are the best tables that I hope they can have for the rest of the time I'm here, because people come in right into our gallery and they buy something. And they, the other night, this place was just, there was an excitement, there was something that's just, you could tell that's just moving in this area. And so I hope you guys go ahead with all the recommendations to allow this. To me, we stay open now till 10 o'clock at night as a gallery, the only gallery in town that's open this late, because they have traffic all night, all day, all the time. And I think it's the best spot for sushi in Carmel, and I hope you guys approve this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Please come forward.
Hi there. My name is Kirsten Lamberty Bacall. Give me just a second. Thank you very much. I'm actually the daughter, I'll get it, give me just a second, of Kathy Sharp Studio. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for your time. I did want to highlight the fact that she's the gallery that's just behind, but I do want to acknowledge that there's been a lot of really great work to make this relationship work, even though it's a tricky spot and to get back there. But I just want to acknowledge, and I wasn't hearing much about this, but I'll get it, give me just a second. She's been a, she's been a part of the community for 13 years, an artist. She's been back in that space, very active in the community, and I wasn't hearing much about how this was being addressed, about her being displaced. She actually doesn't have anywhere to go right now. I actually moved down here to help her with that gallery. And so I just want to acknowledge that she's been a participant and has done everything she can to work with the situation. As part of the artwork, the community donates to the community, art programs, art walk, and just wanted to share that with everybody. But thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? Please come forward.
My name is John Campagno. I am the one of the owners of the property of which Toro stands. I think a little perspective might be helpful. You know, when COVID hit, the restaurant that existed there closed, just walked away, gave the keys back, which is rare. Restaurants are usually a going concern where they sell. Well, COVID hit, the world was ending. They gave back the keys. Almost every tenant in the property wanted rent reductions or was leaving. And lo and behold, they came in and opened up a restaurant right in the middle of COVID. And that outdoor seating saved the restaurant, saved every business in that courtyard. It was crucial. And they worked their butt off, as you've heard. And and we had opened up 2 nightly rentals with permits behind it that just sat barren. It was only essential travel, nothing happened. It was a disaster. That restaurant and those hardworking people saved that entire courtyard. The 20 seats that is being asked to be approved, that makes, the courtyard looks barren with 20 seats. I mean, the reality is 36 is just fine. There is plenty of room. There is no issue with the easement, which we own, and I could have removed in a split second. The only reason for the easement is just to access the pneumatic gallery, and you've heard Craig speak. That's not an issue. That easement where those 2 tables on the left side are is no problem. There is no problem with the egress or back and forth. There is no problem with water credits. We have so many extra water credits for that property. We used to have in the Madden Suite, which was John Madden's old clubhouse, which the Carmel tours go right through there and point it out. It used to be an art gallery with 5 bays. Now we have 0. We have water credits everywhere. So the easement's not an issue. The back and forth isn't an issue. These guys have been incredible. And I really think that, it doesn't, each courtyard someone had mentioned is different. We don't have a quintessential courtyard where you can just cordon off a space and that's it. It's free flowing and it's beautiful. I think some people were there today. It's not it's barren. And I'd actually ask if you took the time and go and look at the reviews for the nightly rentals which exist above it, which literally 1 out of every 3 positive reviews, and they're almost all positive, raves about the sushi restaurant. They love sitting on the deck overlooking the sushi restaurant and the vibrancy. The word quintessential Carmel is in dozens of the reviews saying Toro Sushi, that gorgeous courtyard is there. Now these poor people have to face the pit, which is about to be constructed. It's going to be loud as anything, and they've got to survive. So watching these people put their heart and soul into it, watching what we went through to get this amazing restaurant, which has revitalized everything in that neighborhood, has been a godsend. And so what I would strongly suggest as a life, I grew up here, my family's from here.
Sir, can you summarize your
Sure.
3 minutes are up?
Sorry. Long story short is, I'd ask that you approve all 36 seats. We have we can comply with every regulation with regard to it, or if we need a variation, we'd ask that you please provide it, because this is very important to Carmel and to our property. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to address the Planning Commission? Okay, I don't see anybody in the audience. Anybody online? See anybody there? Oh, we got a hand up, yeah. Steve, you want to?
Steve McCall, yep, just wanted to, share that I'm new to the community. Part of what inspired me to move from Silicon Valley down to Carmel was the culture, and not needless to say, the art and the restaurants. And I also wanted to say that while I do enjoy Toro and it's a great restaurant, I do wonder as a new resident in the community, at what point is there a handoff between helping one business thrive while getting rid of another business? Because part of what did drive me to the community is the vibrant art scene. And the other gentleman who spoke also has a gallery. So I guess trying to understand how they can both coexist together. That's all I had.
Thank you. Okay, sir, come forward.
Hi, I'm Bill Sharp, Kathy Sharp's husband. I think it's useful as you think about all this to know that the Kathy Sharp Studio and Gallery has been there 13 plus years. Kathy has her original art, traditional art, gives classes in the space. It has been on the walking tour. It is a major part of Carmel as it has been and is known to many historically. We had an agreement with the landlord for a lease, which would extend another year and a half, and that has been abrogated. So, yes, all the wonderful things you've heard about Toro may well be true. I think it is sad that we've had this change, or this change is about to occur, given the nature of Carmel, past, present, and future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the chamber here who would like to speak? I see someone coming forward.
Hello, my name is Daisy. I am owner of the Daisy Rose Gallery, which is directly across from Kathy Sharp, right next to Toro and Nomadic Gallery. Hello, nice to meet you all. My husband and I moved here about 2 months ago, I would say. And of course, Toro are some of the first people we met. Chris and Steven are amazing, and so is everyone on their team, like absolutely everyone. They talk to you, they say hello. Even if someone's having a bad day, they as a team go and support each other, and I think that's incredible. They attract a lot of people, and their doors are always open. They always have an extra minute for you to actually get to know you. I moved in and I met them very easily, and directly ahead of me is the Kathy Sharp Studio. Toro is open all the time. I see the Sharp Studio in front of myself be open significantly less. And as a neighbor, when I first went to meet Ms. Sharp, I was greeted very coldly, and I didn't take it personally, but I haven't been to her shop since then. And I will just say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Okay, I don't see any hands going up. Nobody online, so I'm going to close the public comments and open it up to the commission for their discussion at this time. Oh, Commissioner Locke, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, I'll ask staff. There are residential units upstairs, and are there more than one? What's the status? And I heard Mr. Campagno say that they're short-term rentals. Is that correct?
That's correct. I believe there's two.
Are there 2 units?
Two short-term rentals.
Okay, thank you.
With that, would you like to begin?
Sure, I'll start. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who said something today. Both directions. We had some written comments, and obviously we heard what everybody said here today. I have sympathy for the Kathy Sharp Studio, but I also have been a patron at Toro. I know they're very busy all the time. It is a nice restaurant. Outdoor seating is definitely something that we have to all be aware of, the desire to continue doing that and to find ways to help support that happening. I don't particularly think that we should restrict the seating to one side or another in this case, if, you know, assuming we go forward with approving this use permit. I would allow them to go on either side, let them figure out how they want to set up the seating. I think a condition should be added if we go forward that would bring it back for review should the property ever transfer title, or one of the two properties transfer title, because we're talking about, you know, we have a single owner with two parcels and the courtyard is between the two. If we authorize this outdoor seating going forward, it would need to come back for review if either of those parcels transfers title. I would support the seating change, and I think that that they have the ability to do the 40-20, and I'm supportive of that. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Locke. Mr. Dels,
Sure.
would you like to?
Okay. Again, yeah, thanks for all the comments. Very helpful. As I said before, we're going to have a lot of these coming in because, well, we know what happened. That outdoor seating got everywhere, and actually, this body was never involved really in the whole pandemic-driven outdoor seating thing or the retraction of it. That was really all handled by the City Council. Now we're back to regular order. And this is really the first one that's come before us now that the new direction has been set. I'm very supportive of outdoor seating for all the reasons stated today. It's a big reason why I live here too. Great restaurant, glad you're here. We need more like you, so thanks for being here. Really, I could be supportive of more than the 40 and the 20. I'm just really want to understand what the restriction really is. If there are more water credits available, can that change the answer? And so that I'm going to come back on that question, see what I could get. Assuming more is possible, I think the main thing is just the ability to move through the courtyard. And I think and I've been in the courtyard many times, and if you have tables on both sides that are next to each other, that's where you get a pinch point. So as long as you're staggering them left to right, I would be supportive of that. And I personally like the tables in the back. And I'm, and I do want to acknowledge the Sharp Gallery. There's really nothing that this group can do about the programming of space, of private property. I mean, this whole thing is between you all and your landlord. And so, I hear you, but that's thank you.
Please.
So to my question, Brandon and
Yeah, so
Evan?
I think Evan and I were talking about that. I do believe that Evan reached out to the Water District when he was working with the applicants to discuss if there was extra water available, because you're correct, that's the main limitation here, is Evan pointed out in his presentation. There's 40 indoor seats, so you can have it up to 50% of that number outside without needing any more water, so a total of 60, so 20 is half of 40. Evan, maybe you can speak to a little bit about your conversations with the Water District folks.
Yeah, so, sorry, I'm just going to go back a slide so I can reference it. So the 40 seats was reached based on the existing use permit. We both had a record of 38 seats allowed for the existing restaurant. If the business expands into the Sharp Gallery, 2 additional seats become available based on the water allocated to the Sharp Gallery space. That equals 2 seats for a total of 19 seats or the 17 seats transferred from the restaurant plus 2 additional for that use. So that works out to 40 seats for the business. And then 50% of the indoor seats can be allocated outside without crediting against the water count. So if additional water credits are available through the property owner somehow, that can be allocated towards the restaurant, then they get more seats potentially. But through my preliminary conversations with the water district, that's all that was available.
And Evan, I think also, I don't believe we were made, like, I know that the property owner came up and mentioned that they have extra water, but I don't believe we were made aware of that.
That's correct.
At any point, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll put it out there that I'd be willing to increase the 20 to 30 or 32, subject to water availability. So I'm just putting that out there for my colleagues to consider.
On that point, can I just ask a quick question of staff? Now, the 50% allocation for outdoor seating, that's a municipal code, is that correct?
That's a water district regulation.
It's a water district.
Rule 24 with the water district. Did I get that right, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Rule 24. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Rule 24. One thing I would offer up, Commissioner Delves, is that, well, there may be, let's say that there was water that was made available and that could bring the number up to 36 outdoor seats. There's other factors as well. We need to make sure that there's an accessible path of travel through there, which is a number of feet, 3.5, 4 feet. We got to make sure that that can still happen. So it's not only the water, but there's another calculation. But we could look at, if there's extra water that comes forth, we can look at how to arrange that, the maximum number of seats that could get out there.
And does the fire marshal have some say in that?
It's a combination between the building official and the fire marshal. Yeah,
So again, that would be conditional.
correct.
And I just want to go back, Stephanie, to your idea that this would have to change with a change of title. Because in a change of title, the leases typically don't change.
No. Yeah, and I'm not talking about business change of title, I'm talking about property change of title, because if, my concept would be to allow them to put the seating on either, wherever they want to put it within the courtyard, but they're also right up next to that one building that's on the north side, and so if that building were to sell, the new owners may or may not appreciate having that seating right up next to the building if that's how it gets, I just think it should be reviewed.
And the seating does live with the use permit, which goes with the property owner, not the business owner.
So it would, anyway, so what she's asking for would happen.
It could work if that's what you wanted to do, yeah, because it wouldn't be tied to a business permit, it'd be tied to the use permit, underlying use permit. That's what controls the number of seats allowed on a property.
So the use permit, the landlord has the use permit?
That's correct.
Okay,
Goes with the property.
So Brandon?
thank you.
Brandon, question. In that case, if the north property were to sell, it does not have the use permit on it.
The use permit is on...
It's on the southern property. So I
Right.
actually have seen this done once before with another property in town.
Yeah.
What happened was they did a deed restriction on both properties.
Both properties, yes. Okay, thank you.
But a question, today when we were on the site, you indicated that the north building's property line is at the front edge of that planter?
Approximately. I don't know the exact location, but it's somewhere
So
around there. Yeah.
Okay, but it's, all right, okay.
I believe the entirety of the walkway is on the southern property. I'm not sure where it starts and stops in terms of the planter.
Yeah, that's what it looks
Okay.
like.
Commissioner Delves, did you?
I'm
make other
finished.
comments?
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Karapetkoff?
Yeah, I heard something interesting earlier today. A gentleman said, give them as many seats as possible, and I guess we all want to do that. Just the question is what it means, how many is possible. Obviously, there is a number where it becomes impossible to pass through the courtyard, and it becomes dangerous. In case of emergency, people just cannot leave. So I do not know what the formula is for that number. I think staff is proposing, has an argument for the number of 20 outside and 40 inside. We just need to figure out if there's anything else that we can do to go beyond that. And I agree with Commissioner Delves that we need to look at all of the different restrictions and see if we can go beyond that number. Other than that, I mean, I love the restaurant, love the place. I would love to see them succeed in town. So if we can help in any way, I would love to support that.
Go ahead.
So if we were to approve the use permit with the 20 and 40, the applicant can come back for an amendment if there's water available on the property. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Allen?
I don't have much to add. I think it's a fantastic location. I walk by there frequently in the evenings, and it seems like it's very lively and fun, and I'm super happy that the restaurant is successful. I'd like to see more outdoor dining, because where else is better than Carmel than to eat outside? So I think it's fantastic, and I agree. I think if they can fit more seats in there safely, then I think that we should allow that. And then also, if they can come up with a safe heating option, that would be fantastic.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dels, go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't discuss the heaters. And again, this is coming from the building official. Is it also coming?
And the fire marshal. as
And the
well.
fire marshal.
And so that's, it's, I know what I said earlier. I understand that most people are very cautious about where they put heaters, but it does only take one. And even one of the pictures that Evan put up in his presentation, there's one of those patio heaters tucked up right underneath a wood eave, which is illegal. That's a violation of the fire code, for the reason because it's fire right underneath wood. It's just dangerous. I understand that's rarely going to happen and maybe never would happen here, but that's the reason for this and why we have asked other people around town to move their heaters.
Yeah, I mean, they do cast off a significant amount of heat, so yes.
Brandon,
From a matter of equity, I'm sorry, that are all restaurateurs with heaters, with propane heaters, have they all been given a date by?
They have, yeah. Yeah, we visited each one personally. And gave them a written-
So these people would have the same date by as every other restaurant
Yeah.
in town, so they're not getting singled out.
That's correct. Yeah.
Arguably, they're in front of it because
They just happen to be
they're
the
moving
first ones to
faster.
get their application in, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Thank you.
and Brandon, what is your interpretation of the policy regarding the owner's request to have the heaters left until the other heaters are ready to be operational?
I think, we can work with the applicant, because that's not really under those portable heaters aren't under the purview of the planning commission. It's just them working with me
So
and
that's- you can
my
handle-
code compliance
they can handle that
division.
staff and
Yeah,
be-
we can handle the staff level. They've been a great partner to work
And
with.
you can be accommodating?
We'll be as accommodating as we can. Obviously, our first goal in everything that we do is safety. We've dealt with situations before where we've asked people to comply and we go back and it keeps moving. I'm not saying that about this site, but that's where we get a little bit sketchy about it, is if we find that they keep going back in dangerous places, or there's propane tanks stored at the bottom of staircases, because that's the other thing that comes along with these portable heaters is 5-gallon propane tanks that there is no place to store them. Most restaurants have very little storage for their products, let alone 8 5-gallon propane tanks. And so those also fall under the fire code and the building code, that they have to be stored in exceptionally safe places. They're supposed to be stored in metal locked containers. They can't be stored in front of doorways. They can't be stored in the bottom of staircases. So all those things, we try to be as accommodating as we can. We're not an agency that likes to over-enforce, but we do need to protect the public safety.
Yeah, I think the issue here is just that they want to be able to have the heaters up until the moment that they can
I understand
have
that.
the other ones, and
We'll be as
they have
accommodating as we can.
And they have presented a heater, so they're moving towards getting rid of those heaters.
Absolutely.
So, okay, a couple of things I wanted to comment. First of all, I wanted to compliment the owners. You've obviously done a great job with your restaurant. You made a big connection, big impact. I mean, I haven't heard this many people speak so emotionally and supportive for any application in a long time. So, and I appreciate all the comments you guys did. We really listened to that, and I think it's important. So it seems to me like the issues are the number of outdoor seating and the location. Those are the two issues. So it sounds like you can get more outdoor seating if you can get more water. According to the landlord, there's more water available, and you can come back with that, and if more water is available. As it is right now, we're kind of tied to the rules of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. So we kind of, at this point, they've said you can have, a 50% of 40, so you can have 20 outdoors. The other is the location. I appreciate staff wanting to keep, a pathway through to keep it safe, but it seems like those two tables up front are pretty important, and I think there's enough room there. I looked at your layout to get through. The other commissioners, I think what I heard, they were pretty supportive of that. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I'm just kind of thinking on the fly here, trying to be accommodating and listening to what you all are trying to accomplish. And of course, we are supportive also as staff of outdoor seating, because it's a way to help our businesses out, which we're very fond of. One thing you could do, just throwing this out there.
Not only fond of, but dependent upon.
But yeah, I'm gonna stick with fond. We're fond of our businesses. They're like part of our city family. As difficult as some of them might be, we all have difficult family members. But where I was going with that is that I think one solution could be you could add a condition of approval to this project saying, so we don't have to, because what I'm worried about is that if water becomes available, then they have to get back in line with the use permit amendment. It could take some time. So it sounds like the commission is generally supportive of this concept. You could pick a number, say 10 more. If water becomes available, this permit allows for an additional 10 outdoor seats to be added without returning to the planning commission. So it's all contained in this use permit. Anything over and above, and 10 is just a number I'm throwing out there right now because that seems like a reasonable, it's 50% more than what we're suggesting at this point. So you could throw that out up to 10 or whatever the water allows. So that I'm just offering that as a suggestion to you. It's not something certainly you need to do, but.
Yeah, my only concern is the layout, of the, I mean, that's kind of a narrow courtyard.
Well, and I think
I am sympathetic to staff's position that, we need to think about, access there.
Yeah.
So,
the layout is really, a lot of that is driven by building code, fire code, accessibility, ADA laws that really this commission also doesn't have purview over. So the floor plan that we have here is what we have.
But we could make a condition that where additional seating would be allowed.
Yeah, that's right.
We could do that.
We're allowed and still provide safe,
Right.
unfettered access to the public and all that.
Because staff has done some analysis
Yeah.
about where they would prefer to see.
Yeah, if you give us leave, so what you could do is, move to adopt the resolution with the addition of this condition. I feel like we've framed out, and if any of the commissioners want to add more to it, we've framed out what that condition might be. We would craft that, add it into the final resolution. Of course, the chair reviews that and signs it before it becomes effective, so that the commission would effectively give leave to the chair to approve the final form of that condition, but it sounds like we could rough out what that would look like here.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have two comments, actually. On the proposed resolution, let's see. Special condition number 11 specifies a maximum of 20 exterior seats are permitted to be split between no more than 6 tables. I don't know that we want to specify how they split it, so I would delete that entire sentence. And then on condition 12, the outdoor seating location, and again, we've just talked about that, so that would need to be amended to allow them to spread the seating as they see fit within the courtyard area.
So does staff have any comments on those?
So just to clarify, so for number 11, to summarize your recommendation,
Yeah,
it's just limit it to 20 seats.
Yes.
And not how the tables are
Right.
organized. Okay.
Yeah.
But would you be
And
open
then
to 30?
I apologize, I missed the second comment.
And the second comment was condition number 12, which is basically the same thing, that we're not specifying where they're supposed to have the seating, which says on the north wall, condition 12 says north wall.
So would it be just anywhere within the courtyard?
Within the courtyard, yeah.
Okay.
And if I could make the suggestion,
I would suggest
Commissioner
that we
Locke,
have
we-
some language in there that addresses the safety access.
Thank you. You read my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah, but I need you to say the words because that's your amendment.
Yes, so
condition.
definitely
Thank you.
it would have to be
Thank you.
safety, yes.
The magic words we need. Thank you.
With that, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I would like to move that we approve use permit, sorry guys, I gotta get back here. Oh, use permit 23-105 and the design review 23-106, with the amendments as discussed during our comments, to allow the expansion of Toro Restaurant into an adjacent business space and area for outdoor seating. At this time, it would be a 20, sorry, is that right?
Yes, 20 exterior seats.
Yeah.
40 interior.
40 interior, 20 exterior, and then with that other added condition that if water's available, we'll let you figure out what the appropriate number is based on the safety again and what the.
I think I would like from the commission the number. I propose 10.
A maximum.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea what that courtyard can accommodate, though?
We don't.
We do know that the current number is 32.
So let's.
In
So
the
you could say up
courtyard.
to 12 more then. That would get you to 32.
Okay, up to 12 more.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the use permit and the design review with the following changes to special conditions. Special condition number 11 shall have the,
Delete the sentence.
delete the sentence which specifies the placement.
Yeah.
The placement and quantity of seating. And condition number 12,
Same thing.
the outdoor seating shall be located immediately. So the outdoor seating, we're leaving it up to the applicant where they want to place the outdoor seating as long as they maintain the safety standards that are necessary in access.
Yeah.
And you can, that's something you work with staff. With staff, have review of that. And also, we're adding language that if additional water becomes available, you shall have an option of adding up to 12 additional outdoor seats. Does that cover it?
Yeah, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
How many restaurants are on site? Is it one or two?
I don't know off the top of my head. If Evan does, if not, then we can ask the applicant.
There's one restroom publicly accessible in the courtyard, and I believe there's one in the expanded tenant space.
And the comment from the gallery was there's one more. It's kind of by Daisy's Gallery. Yeah.
I think I don't know if that's in the municipal code anywhere, but I think it's recommended to have like one bathroom for 40 people in restaurants, so.
Okay, but we're not getting into that right here. So the other thing I want to suggest that we eliminate with the gas heaters, where is that? Which one is that? Help me out.
15.
16?
15.
15, yeah. Okay, so I want to recommend, well, we should remove immediately. Remove from the site immediately, so that's going to be removed.
Yes,
They're going
I
to work with
agree.
staff. Staff will
We don't have to do it immediately.
allow the gas heaters to remain until the new electric heaters become operational. Wanna
Yes, I agree.
Add that to your, you're going to add that to your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I am going to add back on that one that we will allow them to remain safely. If we have repeated violations, we will remove them.
If you have repeated, right, that goes without saying.
Yeah, okay.
But we need to remove the language which says immediately. So if that's sufficient.
We're all good.
Okay, all right. Is there any more discussion? No. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone.
I know you closed public comment. Can I make a brief, quick
No,
comment?
I'm sorry, we can't. It's closed. But thank you. We appreciate your concern.
All right, Mr. Chair, while Marnie is getting ready to come up with this, I want to just call something to the commission's attention on item number 2, if I could. A little piece of business we need to dispense with. So we did receive a letter.
Is this item number 2, the public hearing?
Yes.
So it's item number 4.
Number 4, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's what I meant. Yeah, CRI. Right. This is the CRI item. So we did receive a letter from a neighbor regarding the noticing that was done for this item. I'll start by saying that the item in front of you tonight is not a decision. It's not a public hearing. It's a policy guidance early on a concept. So there's that. The noticing that was done was incorrect in that it listed the wrong corner of a street. It has the name of the property, It has the description of what you're considering tonight. I did check with our city attorney, and he felt based on all those criteria, the fact that it is a public hearing, you're not making a decision, we actually didn't need to do a public notice the way that we did. It was additional information, and just the fact that the property itself was named, CRI was in the notice. It was just incorrectly stated which corner of a street it was on. It was the same street name. That he felt that you were okay to continue it. It met the requirements of the statutes. However, because anytime we get a request for a continuance, we typically will at least talk about that before we move on to see if the commission has interest in continuing it based on that request or to continue with the presentation. So I wanted to get that out on the table.
Okay, so we need to deal with that first?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as I understand it, there was an incorrect description of the property location?
That's correct.
In the public notice?
That's right.
Okay, but tonight we are not making a decision about anything. We're just giving preliminary feedback.
Correct. Yep.
And the city attorney feels that that we're within the bounds of
absolutely
of our propriety to do that.
I did confer with him.
So how Commissioner Allen, how do you feel about that? I'm just going to poll each one of you.
Since it's a preliminary review, I feel like we could proceed.
Commissioner Locke?
I'd actually go the opposite way and say that if the neighbors didn't feel that they had adequate notice, that we should continue the hearing or continue the discussion.
Was there a letter from?
There was a letter from a neighbor. The neighbor actually I saw was on the meeting tonight as well, so they were able to attend this evening. Yeah, but like I said, this wasn't there was no legal requirement for the notice.
And they're gonna have ample opportunity to.
That's correct.
So there was no legal requirement.
Because correct. Because this is not a public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's essentially an order of business. We try to go above and beyond, so we did notice it like we do our public hearings, and like I said, the name of the project, the permit number, all that stuff is correct. Just rather than being the south west corner, it was the southeast corner of Carpenter.
Okay, Commissioner Dels, your feelings?
I'm kind of in the middle. I think we should proceed because it's not like preliminary. We will take no action. True. And my only caution to the applicant is that you can get direction from us today, but the fact that we, in a future hearing of more substance, when we're making decisions, and the neighbors do show up, we listen to neighbors a lot. And I leave it to the applicant. If you want to continue, we would, because I think you are open to a change in direction the next time.
And Commissioner Karapetkoff?
Yeah, I'll be interested in hearing about this proposal because I haven't heard about previous approvals. I know there are several other approvals before that. But in general, I'll be interested to hear what neighbors have to say. It's a big project. It's pretty much an entire block. So I was surprised to see that there were no comments this morning, and then we got this last-minute letter. So I have nothing against discussing it today, but we should expect feedback from the community.
Do we need to have a motion regarding this? Okay.
No.
All right, well, I feel like we can proceed. I think Commissioner Dels made a key statement there, and he said lack of substance. There's really not a lot here. And there's also going to be a lot of opportunity for the public to weigh in on this, on specific things which are going to be presented to us. And as it's been stated tonight, we look at each project on its merits. And when those merits are available, that's when we invite the public to make their comments. And as Commissioner Dels said, we listen to those and respond to those appropriately. So I'm comfortable just giving some preliminary feedback. And I think everybody needs to understand it's just preliminary at this point. So with that, I think we can proceed. We have the staff report.
Well, thank you, Chair LePage, and good evening to the Commission. So as was stated, staff is before you today just for a discussion on a concept for the Carmel Resort Inn property. So we're looking for some preliminary feedback on a potential master plan proposal that would remodel the Carmel Resort Inn. Also some proposed amendments to the existing use permit, and also looking for some feedback on a potential lot line adjustment. So as you may recall, the Carmel Resort Inn is comprised of 16 lots of record. 8 of those lots front on Carpenter Street, and the other 8 front on Guadalupe. The hotel has been in operation since 1926. A use permit was granted by the city in 1968 for 25 rental units, 1 manager's unit, and a requirement for 50 off-street parking spaces. So back in October of 2021, a community presentation was hosted by Eric Miller Architects and the ownership of the Carmel Resort Inn. They presented a design concept to the community to get some feedback. The site plan for that proposed concept is on the right-hand side of this slide. The proposal at that time was a demolition and construction of a new hotel consolidated on 8 lots fronting Carpenter Street, and a proposal for 8 single-family homes fronting on Guadalupe Street. They received a lot of feedback from the community, and they took that feedback and went back and redesigned the project. So on December 16th, they held a second community meeting, again hosted by the architect and the ownership. This was not led by the city. And they presented a revised concept for cottage suites, which resembled more single family rather than a large attached structure. So again, the ownership got a lot of feedback from the community. They have to work within the confines of the municipal code, which has some very specific standards when a hotel is redeveloping in the R1. And so they have decided that this approach just may not be feasible. And so they're exploring other options for rehabilitating the hotel property. Just a little bit more background, as the commission may recall, a proposal for a single-family residence on Lot 2, which is on the corner of Guadalupe and First, was approved by the Planning Commission fairly recently. And then also a second single-family residence was approved by the Planning Commission on Lot 4. And again, both of these front on Guadalupe Street. The design of these 2 projects have been approved, but they are not in building permits at this stage. Also, the applicant has submitted 2 additional applications for single-family homes on lots 10 and 12. So you can see here the relationship of those lots to 2 and 4. And those applications are being reviewed by staff. We do anticipate bringing those forward in the next couple months for the commission's review. So I'm gonna kind of walk through the different components of this proposal as the applicant has submitted it. So one of the things they're considering is on Lot 4, instead of that approved single-family home, they're seeking some feedback on what the commission would think about using that structure as a hotel suite. And so in order to accomplish that, they would need to demolish 1,965 square feet of existing floor area in order to there not be a net increase in hotel square footage. So that's one part of the proposal, is actually having a hotel suite instead of a single family residence on Lot 4. And this here kind of shows you again the design of the home that's been approved on Lot 4, as well as the location. And that would be a 3-bedroom hotel suite. So this exhibit again just shows the location of the proposed single-family homes on lots 10 and 12. And as I mentioned, those applications are currently in review. Another element of the proposal that the applicant is looking for some feedback on is retaining the 2 cottages on Lot 2 instead of building that single-family home that was approved. And here are some preliminary design concepts of what a remodel of those 2 cottages might look like. Also, they're, under this proposal, looking to rehabilitate the cottages throughout the property. So rather than scraping the site and building new structures for the hotel, this concept really looks at rehabilitating what's there and preserving sort of the cottage feel of the hotel. Also, as you may recall from prior conversations, the hotel is currently operating in excess of what the use permit allows as far as the number of rooms. So this proposal includes a combining of rooms in order to reduce the number of hotel units down to the allowed 25 plus 1 manager's unit. With regards to the use permit amendment, the applicant is looking for some feedback on reducing the amount of parking for the hotel. So in 1968, when the use permit was adopted, the city required 50 on-site parking spaces to serve the hotel. Under the current regulations, hotels are required to provide 1 space per unit, which would be 25 or 26 in this case. So the applicant's looking for some feedback if the commission might consider a reduction in the amount of parking for the hotel as part of this proposal. And then the third element is a proposed lot line adjustment. So in rehabilitating the 2 cottages on Lot 2, those do encroach onto Lot 4, which creates some issues with building either that single-family residence or the hotel suite on the Lot 4 property. So the applicant's looking for some feedback on this proposed lot line adjustment. They are proposing to keep both lots at 4,000 square feet, which is a standard size for Carmel. But the lot line adjustment would be quite irregular. And the Carmel Municipal Code includes some standards for lot line adjustments, and I've listed all those here. I'm not going to go through all of them. The one that I think is where we're really looking for some feedback on is whether the irregularity of the lot line is something that the commission might be able to support. The code does encourage straight lot lines and rectangular lots. However, there have been some existing conditions throughout the village where the commission has found that irregular lot line was appropriate. So again, not looking for a commitment on whether or not you would approve it, but just a general sense if you think this is something that could be supported if they proceed with this proposal. So as Brandon mentioned at the beginning of this item, we did get some public comments today from one of the neighbors with a request to continue the item due to the public noticing error. That would give the ownership more time to engage with the community on this particular proposal. The neighbor does have concerns with the conversion of Lot 4 to a hotel suite, and whether the continued kind of hotel use along Guadalupe is really compatible with the residential neighborhood. The neighbor really felt that residential use is more appropriate and would like to see that stay as approved. And then also asking the commission to really consider the proposed parking reduction to make sure that there's adequate parking both for the hotel units as well as staff. I do believe the neighbor is on Zoom and certainly may have some more comments. You also do have a letter in front of you, which we got late today as well, that you can reference if you'd like. So again, really the intent of bringing this forward at this point really is because this has been a high-profile project with a lot of interest from the community. And before the ownership develops a formal proposal, they really would like to get some preliminary feedback on these different aspects of rehabilitating the hotel. So with that, I will end my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Marnie, could you just kind of summarize? So I wrote down remodel the individual cottages, the hotel suites building, lot line adjustment, and then the parking.
Yep.
Is that it, or did I miss something there?
Nope.
Okay, I just wanted it so we could focus our discussion. Okay, are there any other questions
Yeah,
for
one other question.
Marnie?
As far as this proposal goes, how many actual rooms are proposed to be demolished with this current iteration? I know it's square footage, but are there actual rooms that are being demolished?
So there would be a consolidation of rooms so that there would be no more than 25 units.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some accessory buildings would be demolished just to reduce that square footage. But that would only be necessary if the structure on lot 4 was converted to a suite.
Right.
So if that stays a single family home, they would not need to demolish square footage, but they would still need to consolidate rooms.
Okay.
And one of the benefits of doing these preliminary meetings is that we have the applicant here. So when you're done with questions with staff, they'll come up and they want to speak a little bit, and you can ask them questions too, because this is more of a vision at this point, making sure that from all of you if they're heading the right direction. So feel free to ask lots of questions of our applicant when they come up as well.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dels.
So this is currently zoned R1.
Yes.
So help me there. Yet it's been operating as a hotel for decades. And is that because of that, it can continue to operate as a hotel? That's a fact. And even if they're making changes within, are they still, it's sort of like what are their property rights going forward?
Yeah, so the municipal code is very clear, and I believe that these provisions were actually adopted through a vote by referendum, so they can only be changed by a vote of the larger community. And there's very specific provisions about what you can and can't do with a hotel that's in the R1. And it does allow for actually a reconstruction of the hotel, which was that first design concept. But you have to meet certain parameters. You can't increase the square footage of the, what's there existing. You have to maintain a certain amount of open space. So there are some very specific provisions in the code that guide us. And it's those provisions that, the ownership was having a difficult time navigating with that original design and kind of how we got to this proposal today.
One of the bigger provisions of that is basically if through what you do, you get rid of hotel rooms, you can't put them back later. So it's, eventually it might get smaller and smaller and smaller, but you can, as Marnie said, you can rebuild them as long as it's part of the project. But if you don't rebuild up to what you have right now, you can't go higher later.
So just hypothetical that their previous plan, which had 12 single-family homes or 8 single-family homes, that was a proposal that it had one side of the block as single-family homes and the other side as a hotel, and that again would have been allowed under the zoning. The hotel piece, even though it was going to take up half of the property, it could still have the same amount of square feet of hotel space subject to lot coverage?
Yes, yes. So basically, they were going to consolidate and reduce the footprint of the hotel use down from the 16 lots to the 8 lots. But in doing so, they were limited to a certain square footage, and they had to maintain a certain amount of open space, and they have their 50-space parking requirement.
Okay.
And it just all wasn't working out on 8 lots.
Yep.
There wasn't enough space.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah,
Commissioner Allen?
and just so that I'm clear, and so the most they could have is 25, that forever, right? Like, you can't,
Correct.
okay,
Plus a manager's unit.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Okay, would the applicant like to come forward and make their presentation?
Hello, my name is Don Desai. I'm the partner, one of the partner of the Carmel Resort Inn. And public speaking is not my forte. This is actually very first time, so bear with me. Yeah, as long as there are questions, I would be happy to answer. Marnie did exceptional job of explaining. So if I explain the project more, I'm going to confuse you all. But what I will add is a reason to come back and not just go along building the homes as we initiated after having multiple community meetings, is that as we build 2 homes, as Brandon said, we are going to eliminate the first home on lot number 2, will eliminate 5 motel rooms. And that's just not financially feasible for us to move forward. So what we are proposing here is, because of this phased approach and significantly scaled down development, we would like to relocate those 2 approvals onto lots that only has 2 rooms on it. That works with our financing because we are only demolishing 2 rooms and building 2 new homes compared to 5 rooms. So we wanted to ask the commission if irregular lot line is first of all possible. If we can do that, then we would like to build a hotel suite on a lot that's vacant right now pretty much, which is lot number 4. If it's not possible, then we would have to come back and revisit this thing. But if a concern is to build a hotel suite rather than a single family residence on Guadalupe side, we would be open to build a single family residence. What we are opposed to is demolishing 21 square feet of hotel space, which we would lose forever, and then in place build a 1,800 square foot home. So that's basically the reason of relocating the 2 homes. We are not eliminating building 2 homes. We just want to relocate them 4 lots down. And I would love to answer questions if you have. Other than that, I don't have anything to add.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Locke.
Please.
So as part of this kind of proposal that you have right now, are you planning to demolish, when you're going down to the 25 units that you're talking about, how many of the existing rooms are going to be demolished that are currently occupied by renters?
The bedroom count would be 6. The keys count would be, I believe, 9.
Okay.
Because from 31 bedrooms and 31 keys, we would go down to 25 bedrooms, and I believe the keys are total 22.
So I don't know if,
23.
just a question for you also. Are you aware that there is a conflict in the definition of the rooms between how the city looks at a hotel room and how the water management district looks at the hotel rooms?
Yeah, we went through. We are at it for like more than 2 years.
Okay,
And
we just discovered, and we were discussing that this evening.
Yes, we have water management actually first was opposed. First they had issued a letter that they only recognized 25 rooms, but then they found a 1960s document which stated that indeed there were
bedrooms,
31
yes.
bedrooms.
Right.
So because of 31 bedrooms, they will allow 31 rooms water credits.
Right.
So what we are going down to is going to be 25 bedrooms. That's what we are going to go down to from 31.
Yeah, and I guess my question is the city in keeping with that? Because so bedrooms are one thing, but rooms are another thing. And when you talk about the city's looking at the rooms, and when you walk in a room and there may be 2 or 3 bedrooms, they're looking at that as one room?
Correct.
Whereas the water management district's looking at it as 2 or 3 rooms?
Correct. So as far as city would be concerned, I think we would reduce our 31 keys down to 22 or 23.
Okay.
I'm just not sure without looking at the notes.
Okay, and help me understand now, so the lot 4, the ones that are on the corner of Guadalupe?
Second from the corner.
Yeah, so there's 4 units there right now?
On lot,
as it was approved for those 2 houses, you would lose 4 units?
4 units physically, the structure would be 2,100 square foot structure would be demolished, and 1 room has an access which this single family home was blocked off. So it would be a total of 5.
Why can't you just take off the part of the structure that's over the lot line and just put it when you're rebuilding there, just rebuild it, so that it meets the setback requirements and stuff?
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't follow. I didn't follow the question.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe I'm not understanding, so I'm not asking the question right, but this is in regards to the lot line adjustment.
Okay.
I'm just fuzzy on why you're requesting the lot line adjustment. So
very good question.
Just explain that to me, and then I'll pick up from there.
All right. So the reason for that is that we would want an ability to sell that hotel suite, which is going to be spec of a single family residence. We like to keep that option open. If we go ahead through the trouble of rebuilding it, we would like to sell it at one point. As it is now, we can build on it, but then we would have to merge the lot lines. So lot number 2 and lot number 4 would be one, and then we would have 3 structures on it. That would be massive for selling at any point. So the purpose of lot line adjustment is to make use of a vacant lot. And that vacant lot, I mean, it's probably 95% vacant,
That's lot number 4.
Lot number 4. Right. And it's currently, used for parking.
Yeah.
And if there is a line adjustment, then we are able to build a structure, whether it's a hotel suite or whether it's a single family home. But without that, our numbers didn't work out.
Why can't you just take the part of those buildings off that are on lot 2?
Oh yeah, no, like shaving off a building, part of it, not possible.
Well, if you're remodeling, I mean, you're rebuilding them.
Yeah, with the roof, we discussed that with the contractor.
It's
not that easy.
Okay, all right.
We'll have a comment which leads to a question, and I'll just do it and you can redirect me if necessary. So I feel like you're asking very tactical questions to us, and I don't have a strategic context in which to answer your tactical questions. What I would hope to hear from you is much more of a vision, is the word, of what is your desired outcome for this entire property? Describe the hotel in its entirety. What level of standard are you trying to achieve? What type of customer are you trying to attract? Because this is what we owe the neighbors. And it was I had this issue when we approved the first 2 homes, but honestly got to okay because it was the two homes on the corner, and I felt they could be carved off, and I was still uneasy about what came next, but I think we got to a good answer for everyone with those 2 homes. I think your architect worked with us and made the right changes, and now this just seems like it seems a little haphazard in terms of what you're asking from us. I mean, I can give you answers to your questions, but I don't know where it's going.
Where it's going is we would like to retain the number of rooms which are legally permitted, which is 25. So that's the purpose of shifting the 2 homes from lot number 2 and 4 to lot number 10 and 12. And then part of this application is a major remodel that we would be doing on cottages that are on lot number 2 and 4. I mean, not 2 and 4, on lot number 2. So that will allow us to actually physically go pull out a permit and rebuild the cottage, actually 2 of them. And then we would see how that worked out. And if that worked financially feasible and all, then we would duplicate that on other cottages. But as part of the general remodel application, all of the cottages would be remodeled from interior, not exterior. So lot number 2 remodeling of exterior would pave a way for remaining cottages.
So you did 2 community events, and it sounds like it came back that the community was in favor of homes on Guadalupe, hotel on Carpenter.
Yes.
So
what's
happening now?
Part of the community, believe me, that plan is, if that's approved, we are sold on it. We would do anything to do that. Unfortunately, there was a major pushback from the community saying this is a massive, massive development. What happens with that is when we build 8 homes, we cannot retain the hotel of its full size, because then we are building 15,100 square feet of, rebuilding 15,100 square feet of hotel on 8 lots. Right now it's sitting on 16 lots. And after that, there is public works, undergrounding of the utility, and we have to reduce the number of driveways, which is not ideal. But the biggest issue, the driveways could be worked with, but biggest issue was the size of it. Unfortunately, the funding can only be obtained. It would be financially feasible if we build an adequate size. And building 8 homes and 25 new suites, the size was just massive. That's what we heard from the community. And we changed first design, made it more look like homely, but even after that, the size was just too big. Total square footage. That was the plan. That was the reason to shelve the plan.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
I mean, since this really is, meant to be somewhat of a workshop, Mr. Desai, actually, I have a question. I speak planning commissioner a little bit, and so I think one of the questions maybe that Commissioner Delves was asking, zoom out of this site plan, think about the whole of the entire property, all 16 lots. Maybe you can describe for us in a few sentences, or describe for the commission in a few sentences your bigger vision. So when the project's all done, if you had, get through with this, where are the houses, where are the hotel rooms, what does the property feel like, how does it get used by customers and the community? Maybe just give them a higher level picture of what you see.
Higher level picture would be one of the most beautiful hotel lodging property of Carmel. That's our vision. With 25 rooms, 3 of the rooms would be brand new suites, and the rest would be interior remodeled, and 2 new single-family homes. So the reason we would want that single-family homes to come in the picture is to help pay for the remodel.
So when you're all said and done, it's 2 residences, and the rest of the property is the hotel?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time I invite members of the public to come up and speak to the commission. I'd like to hear your ideas.
Mr. LePage and Planning Commission and staff, Carol Hall. I just wanted to say I think the word is relieved to see that a big city hotel was not going to be built, hopefully, on this property, that they were saving the cottages. I know you're all very good at the details, and I'm not too worried about those at this point. But I'm very happy that it's been pulled back from what it was with large houses on Guadalupe and a big city hotel. destroying all the cottages. So I'm nothing but relieved and happy to see that these kinds of changes are being discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else like to come forward and speak to us? Okay, anybody online? Oh, okay, come on up.
Yeah, my name's Steve Howard. I live across the street on Guadalupe. I don't have a sense of what they're really proposing. I mean, at one point there was going to be the 8 homes, and then now we're talking about remodeling the existing cottages, but could we get some kind of a master plan of where this thing's going? I mean, it seems like there's these 2 homes that are being proposed, and then we're going to remodel the cottages that are there. What size are they going to be? Are they going to be the same exact size, or what is the plan here? I don't feel like I even have a handle with where this is going. So that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk about that in our discussion. Is there anybody else here in the chamber before I go to the online speakers? Okay. I see Laura Spiegelman, you have your hand up. You want to unmute yourself and speak to the commission?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I don't exactly see how to turn my camera on, so I'm just going to speak. I am actually the person who asked to have this continued to the next meeting, because when I got a notice about a project on Carpenter, and I thought it was the hotel on Carpenter that the meeting and proposal concerned, and I thought there were going to be single-family homes on Guadalupe, including the single-family home that I didn't object to the plans to opposite my cottage. And so I was surprised when I was finally able to get my hands on things and find out that this whole thing is really mostly about what's happening on Guadalupe from my perspective and Lot 4. And I'm really concerned with what they're proposing on Lot 4. You know, they got a single-family home approved, which again, I didn't object to. Of course, we all have different taste, but that's not what the planning process is really about. But they did get a 2-story approved with, I believe, also some upstairs outdoor space. And to me, that's really a very different matter when that's going to be a neighbor, someone you can have a relationship with, someone who behaves the way that people tend to behave when they're in a neighborhood in which they live and have relationships with multiple people. And I personally have lived near properties like, you know, like I'm imagining this would be if it were an 1,800 square foot hotel suite, kind of a party house. And I've experienced directly the negative effects of that and the way that people behave in properties like that. And I don't want to see that on the Guadalupe side of this project. I thought that when the applicant came forward and had the idea of the hotel on the Carpenter side, which is a busy street, and the residences on the Guadalupe side, which is a quiet street, that was a great idea and an improvement, if anything. I too would love to see the cottages restored and potentially even expanded. I think there are lots of ways you could go here to get those single family residences on the Guadalupe side. And just visually looking at the map of these lots, I think there is more room on the Carpenter lots to add, you know, additional small hotel suites. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there that maybe would have less impact on neighbors both on Carpenter and on Guadalupe relative to what's being proposed here, but would also preserve the economic opportunity for the developer of maintaining the hotel rooms. I haven't had a lot of time to study this. As I said, I thought that the hearing was going to be focused on development over on Carpenter, and in fact, it seems like the big action is over on Guadalupe, and in particular directly across from my cottage. I also just wanted to mention on the lot line adjustment, I noticed in Marnie's report that the straight lines are favored over a series of jagged lines, and it seems to me that they could also look at what if, and I don't know whether this is favored or disfavored because again, I haven't had time to research it, but if you look at lots 2 and 4, what if there were 2 lots that were oriented more horizontally than the vertical lots we see now and expansions of the existing cottages into single-family homes? I think there are a lot of different possibilities. What I really don't like is an enormous...
if you could please summarize, you're kind of using your time up.
What I'm really disturbed by is, what I'm most disturbed by is the very, very large kind of party house hotel suite that's proposed to be added on Lot 4. I think that's enormously problematic for Guadalupe.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other hands going up online. Anybody else here in the chamber want to speak to us about this?
Yep, there's an.
We got a hand. David?
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
I'm concerned. I live on Guadalupe, right across from the resort. I'm concerned about all the construction that's going to happen, the noise, the dirt, the dust, the trucks, the inconvenience of me enjoying my home and the quietness around my home, and getting in and out of my driveway and parking in front of my house. So my question is, what's the timeline of this project from the first construction that they're going to do here to the very end, to the vision of what they want to put together? What's the timeline from the beginning to the end, so I can understand how much of this inconvenience of our life that we're going to have to deal with?
I don't think that's something we could answer at this discussion. I understand your concern, but this is so preliminary that we're not really talking about that. So I would just suggest that you keep an eye on this, and when it comes back, gets more specific, you can speak about that again.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because especially when he made the comment of, we're going to build a couple units and then we're going to check out the financial feasibility of it. So, I mean, if we go down that track, build a couple, then we build a couple more and a couple more, this thing could go on for 10 years. Who knows? So that's kind of my concern. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, any other hands coming up here? I don't see any. Anyone else in the chamber? Oh, Neil, there you go. Okay, Neil.
Thank you. I just want to make comment on the two designs of the cottages that were part of this application and say that I'm really pleased to see those designs. They feel very Carmel to me, and I like the direction that this is going. This is also a very complex project, and I'm glad that everybody's taking their time to get there, and I appreciate the work involved. But I just want to thank the architect for moving back in the direction of the feeling of Carmel. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Okay, any other hands going up online? I don't see any. All right, I'm going to close the public comments, open it up to the commissioners. Commissioner Allen, would you like to begin? And just
Sure.
Before we do, just a review, we've got the remodel of the individual cottages, the character, the hotel suites proposed, the lot line adjustment, and the parking.
Okay. So I'm not in favor of the bedroom suite, the 3-bedroom suite that is proposed on Lot 4. And I'm not in favor of the lot line adjustment because I believe that just causes issue further down the road. I was a little bit confused around the concept that potentially he would build this hotel suite, but then potentially sell it as a single family home, I thought, which was confusing. And maybe I just heard that wrong. Super concerned about the neighbors and the thought that they had in mind that these are going to be residential and now it's not. And then I was fine with the cottage exterior proposed concepts that they had. That seemed fine to me. And then in terms of parking, I would say that at a very minimum, we would need to have one per room that they have, plus the number of employees and maybe a couple extras. So, we could bring that number down from 50, but I would want to make sure that we still had adequate parking available. So I think I addressed everything.
Okay, Commissioner Locke?
Thank you. Well, I'll agree first off with all of your comments on the specific questions that we were asked. But I'd also like to go into a little more regarding what Commissioner Delves said earlier regarding strategic content and a vision for this property. I believe this block needs a specific plan to address the uniqueness of the neighborhood and the size of the project as a whole. There are 16 legal lots of record that currently have legal non-conforming motel uses in a residential zoning district. There's also one residence with an ADU adjacent to the motel that's under the same ownership. There are only 3 parcels on the block that are under other ownership. It seems to me that to protect the character of the neighborhood, a specific plan is appropriate. And to elaborate on my statement, in the past 20 years, there have been a number of proposals for remodeling, redoing, demolishing, and rebuilding this property, along with several changes of ownership. The Planning Commission in the past year alone has reviewed 3 designs for single-family homes on 2 of the parcels that were designed by the owner's architect. Today's submittal moves those 2 approved homes to other parcels. And I'd like to point out the fact that the Planning Commission's decision on those homes took into consideration the specific site location that the construction was proposed for, and not how those homes would look on another parcel down the street. In 2020, the proposal was to tear the whole thing down and build new 2-story luxury hotel buildings on Carpenter and single-family homes on Guadalupe. A similar proposal was made in 2014 to tear down the entire site and sell off the parcels rather than develop them by a single ownership. And at that time, the Planning Commission expressed concern about how the redevelopment of the majority of the block would look and how it would impact the character of the neighborhood. That concern still stands today, and based on the number of alternatives that have been raised in the course of the past 5 years or so, and the number of potential new proposals that may be submitted, I believe a specific plan is the best course of action. I move that this item be continued and that a specific plan for Block 17 be developed for review and approval by the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Locke. Commissioner Delves?
Yeah, I think my comments are going to be similar. I'm with, is Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the right question. And it's been troubling all of us since this group first dealt with it, and we're not the first group to deal with this over the last 20 years or 30 years. The challenge is that you have to, is understanding the property rights of the applicant, and what they bought and what they own is, what is it, a dozen? 16, essentially 4,000 square foot single family lots, that are zoned in the R1 district single family with a use that sits on top of it that was approved long time ago to operate a hotel. It's a bizarre thing. And it's within their property rights, I believe, to take this on piecemeal, one at a time. That's frustrating, especially frustrating to me. I completely agree with Commissioner Locke that what we need is a master plan for this, and it's going to, I think, to the applicant, I think it's going to get hard without one. And what I heard you say is your master plan is really a spreadsheet. It's a financial spreadsheet. And I've been a real estate developer. I understand that it's really, really easy to lose money in your business. But I mean, with direct questions, your answers are very much from your spreadsheet. It's how do I make this work financially? And that's really not our purview. It's none of my business, but I'm concerned you're underfunded for the enormity of the project that you got in front of you here. So I'm with, I don't think I have the right to demand a master plan, but it would sure be helpful to get the community involved and supportive. and for us to operate as well. I will answer the specific 4 questions. I'll start with the lot line adjustment. It appears to me that lot line adjustment, you're really creating an L-shaped lot that then has 4,000 square feet so that from a lot coverage standpoint, you can build a bigger home. And you pretty much said that. So that's not a reason for me to do a lot line adjustment. That, again, is playing into your spreadsheet more than what is dictated by common sense. On the hotel suite, on lot 4, in general, again, I think the concerns of Ms. Spiegelman are warranted. That 3-bedroom suite, especially with outdoor party space, could become a loud intrusion into the neighborhood. So I need to see more specifics, frankly, but just as a general concept, it seems like maybe an inappropriate addition, and that there might be better ways to not put all 3 of those together and keep them as single units.
Parking.
Yeah, parking, I think you can reduce parking. And Commissioner Allen, I think, had a good idea. I think 1 per key is fine, but then let's make sure we can park the employees as well. You're not downtown, so you are on a residential street, or on Carpenter where there probably is not parking. So on-street parking is going to be an intrusion into the neighborhood, so I think we have to establish what that is. If it's 3 or 4 employees, I think that would get there. And I do agree that the cottages looks good. I mean, that's the direction I would love to see you go. But I'd also love to see a commitment of what that's going to be for the whole project, and what all of them are going to look like in the long term. That would be my preference.
Thank you, Commissioner Dels. Commissioner Karapov.
Yeah, we saw the property today. I think we all agree that it needs some work, and a remodel would be nice. So I think we all want to help the applicant to figure out how to do it. I agree with Bob that it's difficult to work over a spreadsheet and try to figure out how to make it this way. I would love to see the big picture. It's an entire block. You have to know what the end game is. Otherwise, any decision you make is just not optimal. I'm very confused by this whole setup with R1 area running a hotel. How is that different from a short-term rental? I don't understand. But maybe, but doing things like changing property lines and stuff like that, I don't think it's going to help solve the problem. It's making it even more difficult in the future. Let's see a plan, and then maybe we can, maybe the applicant will be able to figure out the financing after that. Without the plan, I'm afraid we're as confused as the people who commented earlier today. You don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know which is going to be hotel, which is going to be a single family home, what's the future of that particular lot. I think we have to have some clarity here before we make a decision.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment?
Sure, come on up.
We came up with the plan, the specific plan that we should be presenting. We didn't actually make an application, but we worked on it for quite some time and presented. And during the community presentation, there was a major pushback that do not build it at the same time. It would be a massive construction. From owner's point of view, that's the best possible development. Economy of scale, build it at the same time. After we had the 2 community meetings, we decided, working with planning department, that come in with 2 homes at a time. So that's what we are doing, 2 homes at a time.
But you're proposing at this point just to build 2 homes on Guadalupe. And then you're going to leave, then the rest of those lots, which have existing hotel units on them, you're proposing to leave them.
Yeah, we're going to remodel
So your
landscape.
vision for this project is 2 residential homes on Guadalupe, and then the rest of the existing cottages are going to be remodeled.
Remodeled, correct.
And then you've got this concept, which, is it on lot 2 where you want to build this hotel suite, or lot 4?
Lot 4.
Lot 4.
So that's the concept.
Which will end up
If
with
it
your
works.
proposed lot line adjustment being a vacant lot, which you would then develop with the hotel units. You can keep that 25, right?
Correct. But
Okay,
if
so
that is
that's your vision. That's
Yeah,
the
that's the
vision
vision.
that's being presented here today.
But
Okay.
if there is a concern with a large 3-bedroom suite on Guadalupe side, then that could just be a single family home rather than wasting a lot and not build anything on it. And that particular lot actually has a Malpaso water and a meter on it. We have more than enough water meters on site.
But you can't build it unless you alter the structures on lot 2, correct?
Not alter structure, alter the lot line. Lot line adjustment, because we don't have a problem building a smaller home, but the problem is that 4,000 square feet is the minimum lot coverage that's required. So how do we build on seemingly open lot? Because if we just run a straight line across, then the lot would be like 3,000, maybe 3,500 square feet, and that's not adequate to build on. So how do we get the 4,000 square feet is, irregular lot.
I don't understand why you can't just take those buildings off the lot line and then put the lot line straight, leave it where it is.
Yeah, then that's the option. If lot line adjustment is a no-go, then we would be tearing it
From
down.
what I hear from the commissioners, I don't hear any support for lot line adjustment. And I wouldn't support a lot line adjustment.
I'm sorry.
I would not support a lot
Would
line
not
adjustment.
support. Okay, so
And I
that's
haven't
the
heard-
direction.
I haven't heard any other.
Correct.
So-
So that literally is the direction that we were looking for.
Yeah, but
So
I
if
think
there
as
is
far
no
as what
support-
the overall plan for the project at this point, because this has been a moving target, for a long time. And I understand it's because you're trying to make it work financially. But
The
what's
financial,
being,
sorry, sir, the financial part was worked up for a specific plan, the major development.
right, but now you're
16
coming
lot,
back with another plan and you're trying to make that work.
because of the community pushback, that
Right,
this is just too
yeah,
massive.
we understand that.
It never reached the
And
commission.
we appreciate that too. So I think one of the stumbling blocks and one of the concerns of Commissioner Locke is getting a specific understanding or plan for the whole piece of property. But it sounds to me, from what I hear tonight, and what I saw from the layout, is that you basically are now proposing to build 2 single-family residences on Guadalupe,
Correct.
and then maintain the other hotel cottage units as they are.
Right.
With this problem that you have with 2 of the units are over onto lot 4.
Correct.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, so I think from there, let's just stick with that at this moment.
Okay. All right.
Okay? All right. So, my comments on the specifics of the things that are here, the lot line adjustment seems to me be problematic, isn't really supported by our policies regarding that, the city. And I don't see why those buildings couldn't be taken off the lot line. I don't. And then creating, getting, one regular size 4,000 square foot lot for number 4. And I think the design of remodeling the cottages, making them more in character with the historical architecture of Carmel is very good. And that leads me to a broader statement in that, one of the things we don't want in Carmel is we don't want, and this is what was rejected by the communities, we don't want this big hotel in the R1 district on Carpenter. This is a community of, in the R1 of smaller cottage-style homes, because we have small lots, we have a tradition of these wood frame and wood finish and with stone cottages, and that's what we'd like to maintain there. That's the character of Carmel. So we don't want that changed. We don't want it modernized in a way which violates that character, and I think that's where the pushback is coming from size and type. The problem is it's a hotel in the R1 district. So you've got a neighbor that's concerned about people coming there, making noise, short-term usage, partying, and I understand that. And we approved 2 houses on Guadalupe. It looked like there was going to be houses along Guadalupe, which was going to be more consistent with the R1 district. And that was the direction we were going. And now that seems like that's out, and they want to do this, this other usage. They want to maintain the usage that's there, which is inconsistent with the zoning, and then remodel the cottages. So, that seems to be the crux of the thing. So I'm we were going in one direction. It seemed like there was support from the Planning Commission. We approved 2 homes. Marnie says two more homes are in the works. They aren't really proposing to take those houses we approved and put them over on the other lot. They're proposing 2 other residences, which are going to have to be reviewed individually. But and I don't know what those look like, and they haven't presented them, and the community hasn't seen them. But I know, and I think it's Mr. Hall, Howard. I understand your concern. You want to have a more consistent residential feel with that neighborhood there, and that's what Mrs. Spiegelman too was speaking to, and I think that is the direction that that's the direction I'd like to see it go. I'm not suggesting that we eliminate the hotel and the cottage feel. I like that cottage feel. I think that goes with the character of the community, and I think there's support for that along Carpenter. But along Guadalupe, I've heard consistently that there isn't support for that. Do you want to come up and give a comment?
I was just to say, I think that
When you come up, if you're going to make a comment, come on up.
I think what the neighbor's concern is that so we do the homes, the 8 homes, and then what's going to happen on the other side? So we're going to remodel the cottages there. That sounds like now we're going to remodel the cottages that are part of those 8 lots that are on the Guadalupe side. So we just want to know what the plan is, so we're behind it, or support it or be against it.
Well, the reality is right now there really isn't a plan.
Yeah,
There's a new idea now.
Right.
I mean, a while back the plan was going to be there was going to be 8 single family homes along Guadalupe, and the Planning Commission approved 2.
Right.
But now what they're saying is they're going to just propose 2 single family residences, and then those cottages that are there are just going to be remodeled. That's what they're proposing.
Yeah, and I'm in support of remodeling the cottages too. So that's it. But just what are we doing here? So we know. I think that's what the neighbors are looking for. So, okay.
Yeah, well, we don't have specifics. Reason why I wanted to hear you come up, because I'm concerned about, I want to hear what the neighbors support.
Yeah.
Because this is an R1 district. This is where you live. This is your residences.
Yeah.
And I think you have the right to enjoy those residences in the context of a residential area. And we've got this non-conforming use there. I don't know how much impact it has on you now. I mean, I don't live there. I live close to there, a couple blocks up, but I'm not experiencing impacts, and I don't know. I want to understand how the residents along that street feel about what's there now, and if they want those to be fixed up and left, or would they rather see individual residential homes?
Personally, I would like to see those cottages fixed up and remain where they are. That's what I'd like to see. So.
Okay.
Okay. So,
that's good to know.
But if there's a single family home or 2 that's going to be on the Guadalupe side, I'm okay with that. So.
Okay. Well, that's what we want to hear. What you want?
Is it okay?
Okay. Does anybody else want to come up and? Ms. Spiegelman, would you like to speak again? Go ahead.
Yeah,
I opened this up to the public again, so you can speak.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Commissioner. I just wanted to respond to your question, and in terms of what I'd like to see on Guadalupe, I'd be really happy if the cottages on Guadalupe were, remodeled into small homes, that fit the character of the neighborhood. If the empty or almost empty lots on Guadalupe also went to their zoning, which is single family. And I would be supportive of, I think there is space on the lots on the Carpenter side for them to recover some hotel rooms, like on the back of those Carpenter lots in small units that are similar to the type of units that have been there historically. And to me, there's a very important difference between those small units where the people generally quietly come and go. They're always happy to see you and your dogs. They want to pet your dogs. It's, you know, my sister stayed there when she was in town and we didn't have room at my parents' house. It's quiet, it's neighborly. It's, to me, in its current form with the small units, it's not problematic. But when it becomes large party houses, like 1,800 square feet and 3 bedrooms, and the outdoor party space, again, I've lived in close proximity to that in a neighborhood, and it's absolutely appalling what happens and how it disrupts the neighborhood. So I absolutely would not want to see that type of change to the historical hotel use on Guadalupe.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Spielman. Appreciate that, you clarifying that for us.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I think that's, it's, I mean, it kind of sounds to me like there's a lot of support for what's there and then just kind of bringing it up, you know, remodeling in the character that you presented. It doesn't, I mean, it sounds like Mr. Howard said that he's happy with the usage that's there. It doesn't sound like it's been impactful, and Mrs. Spielman also said that. They don't want any increased impacts from larger units. That's kind of what I heard, so.
Mr. Chair, would it be fair to say, you know, reading the tea leaves a little bit, would it be fair to say that the commission, above all else, just wants to see a plan for all 16 lots and what it's going to look like? All the things you've talked about, you know, retaining the small size, but really it sounds like we want to see a plan for what the total project is. Whether or not that's all built at once, it could be phased, but just having an understanding of what the future vision is.
Right, but also specifically, it sounds to me, from the commission and from the members, the people, the neighbors that live on that street that have spoken tonight, and obviously there's more neighbors than have spoken tonight, is that they don't really have a problem with the usage the way it is. You know, what they'd like to see, what they don't want to see is they don't want to see the size of the buildings or the number of bedrooms are increased. You know, they don't want to see that. And they don't mind a mix of some residences and then the cottages. And it seems like, you know, if they complement each other, that's kind of what I heard is the direction. So it's, so I don't hear, I haven't heard from anybody here saying that they want all residences there and just a hotel on Carpenter, you know. There seems to be, and it's probably because it's been that way for a long time. So that's what people are used to, and they have, you know, they've accepted that, and that's become the character. You know, it's interesting, even though it's R1, we got a non-conforming there, but the character and the use there has been able to blend in with that neighborhood and not really cause any problems that I'm hearing tonight. So, go ahead.
So in considering all of what's been said today, and comments made by the public and by the applicant and whatnot, as I understand it, so if they give us a plan, obviously they've given plans over the years. Those plans change constantly. We're getting different, you know, we're looking at different projects all the time. And one of the comments had to do with the possibility of selling off the suite unit as a single-family dwelling. As they move forward, if they do these remodels, they could be sold off as single-family dwellings. There's nothing that would prevent them from doing that if it's on a legal lot of record, correct?
As long as they were constructed, you know, the same requirements that a single-family dwelling has. I mean, you have to have a kitchen and all those things. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and I guess just, I have a hard time thinking of a plan coming forward that obviously I think there's a lot of dynamics taking place, shifts of plans and whatnot. And I guess that's where I came in with requesting a specific plan for this particular block, and that would at least give them the guidelines, you know, what we're talking about, immortalizing the types of buildings that going forward, this is what would be appropriate in this, making sure that the design guidelines are specific not building a single-family dwelling in the middle of the hotel rooms, which right now I think essentially that's what they're kind of proposing is a bigger building in the middle of a bunch of little cottages. And I just don't see how all of that mixes and fits together really well. But if we had this specific plan in place that would guide how future development would take place, I think that would be appropriate. But
Well, the problem with that is you've got individual lots.
right.
So it's not a master plan. You know, it's not one big piece of property where they're coming in with a master plan. So the owner has the right to bring each individual lot to us with a specific project. And then that specific project is going to be reviewed based upon its own merits and in the R1, under the R1 standard. So if they bring one project to us on one lot, it's going to be the R1 standards and, you know, the residential guidelines. That's what it's going to be.
Except if it's a hotel room.
Well, if it's a hotel room, then all it's going to be is what it is. So it's just going to be that cottage remodeled. That's it. So I love what you're saying, but there is no way this is going to come as a master plan. It's just not going to happen. So I think as a community, we need to deal with it in the context of what it is, you know, and think about it that way. Go ahead.
Thank you. You've been really helpful in clarifying this, Michael. To the applicant, really, Michael did a better job of explaining your vision than you did. And you said it's not your thing, right? Yes, and that helped me get there. And I think actually hearing from the residents that further helped it. You know, I'm looking at Exhibit 8 in here, and that kind of is your vision. It's keep all the hotel rooms except in this version, build on 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, build single-family homes on 10 and 12. Now that we're not doing the lot line adjustment on lot 4, you may come back and say, well, I want to build a single-family home there. We don't know. And that's just the nature of this thing. You're going to go back and run your numbers again and come back with it, and we may see it piecemeal.
But that's his right.
I agree.
Those are each individual lots.
That's right. So I think the best we can get is what we got, and that's frustrating. But it was helpful to me, especially to at least from the 2 residents that spoke up, that the current use is fine, and that's really helpful to know.
And I think it's important that the community and those residents along that street understand what's there and how it can be developed. Because that way they can decide and they can interact on each individual application in a way which best honors what they want and what they're used to. I mean, those are their neighborhoods. Those are the most sacred places for them. That's where they hang out. That's where they, you know, all those things that happen in the context of their family life, everything, which is what the R1 district is about. You know, that's what we want to preserve. And so they need to understand how this property, what the characteristics are, how it's zoned, what the rights of the owner are, what they can bring forward, you know. So that was my intent in trying to sort of distill that down so that everybody, you know, particularly the residents along that street could understand, you know, what can happen there and what can't happen there. So,
that's it.
Do we have any more discussions? I don't want to. We probably got to cut this off somewhere. So, yeah, there's no resolution required here. I think we've had a good discussion. I really appreciate the impact from all the speakers, and particularly the people that live on that street. Those are the ones that I really listen to and have in the past, too, when we approve projects along that street. So thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. We only have one more item. Do you want to keep going, or you want to have a short recess? We have 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One's a quick one.
No, it's almost one.
I think we just keep going.
Yeah, let's go.
Keep going? Okay. Yeah, you're right. I guess yeah, we're only on this item 4. That was item 4. Okay, we have 2 more. Okay. So the next item of the public hearing is number 5. This is a design study. This is DS 23210. This is the White Cox Project's consideration of a time extension to design study and a variance and associated coastal development permit. This was for an addition, and apparently the owner wants to not repeal or withdraw the time extension. So can we have staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the city staff did notice this item for a request for a time extension of a design study and variance approval. The property owners have since decided not to proceed with the project, so they did withdraw their request for the time extension. By the time staff did confirm their request for withdrawal, the staff report had already, or the public noticing had already been complete. So that's why it's on the agenda. We're simply just asking you to accept their request to withdraw the time extension.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff?
No.
Okay. I'll open it up to the public. Public have any comments on this? Okay, seeing none. Nobody online there? I can't see the online screen.
Do you need a motion?
Okay, so motion, please.
I move to accept their proposal to discontinue
to withdraw
the time extension. Is that going to work?
Okay.
I can second that.
Okay, we've had a motion made to and seconded to approve the request for the time extension to be withdrawn. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Motion is carried. Okay, that brings us to our last item, which is a design study. This is DS 22-184, and it's also a variance request, 23-281. This is the, I believe it's Alfoff project. This is consideration of a combined concept and final, and a variance and associated coastal development permit for substantial alterations to an existing single-family residence located in the northeast corner of Scenic Road and 12th Avenue. Can we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the subject site is a 3,489 square foot lot. It's just a little bit undersized from our standard 4,000 square foot lot. It is located in the R1 zoning district, as well as the beach and riparian overlay, as well as the park overlay. The project qualifies as a substantial alteration. So it is a track 2 project, despite there being no additional floor area being added or no additional height. Substantial alteration includes a number of things, but most importantly, changes in architectural style. So that was the qualifier for this project. Additional project components include landscaping and site coverage changes, as well as a request for a variance for the site coverage. So there are no existing trees on site. The recommended tree density is 3 upper canopy trees and 1 lower canopy trees. There's a little bit of a discrepancy in the proposed number of trees. 7 trees are shown on the landscape plan. However, there are 15 trees shown on the, 7 trees are shown on the landscape site plan. However, 15 trees are shown on the landscape plan as well as the plant list. These trees appear to be primarily ornamental. The city forester was unable to review the landscape plan prior to the hearing. However, we do have a condition of approval that states their review and approval is required prior to building permit issuance. Because of the location within the overlay districts, there are some very specific standards regarding landscaping. This is applicable to projects within the park overlay as well as the beach and riparian overlay. So this is the project site where the star is, and then the park is located here. This is the bluff top, and then the beach down below. So for project sites within the park overlay as well as the beach overlay, new native trees or other significant native vegetation shall be planted between buildings on site and the adjacent parklands, and also at least 75% of all landscaped areas on the property visible from the park shall be planted with drought-tolerant plants or native species. So the forester will be reviewing for those standards. So as a result of the proposed project, the building's massing will be reduced as a result of the elimination of the roof forms that basically encapsulate the building. The removal of these elements may in fact open up and enhance some view opportunities for building sites beyond the subject property as well as from the right-of-way. So in respect to privacy impacts, the proposed alterations do not appear to substantially impact the privacy of adjacent property owners. There are some new decks proposed, or existing decks that are proposed to be altered and reconfigured as depicted on the slide. However, these decks are substantially located in the same locations as the existing decks and do not appear to create or increase any adverse privacy impacts. Both of the decks are increasing in size. The lower deck will have a privacy screen on the south side of the deck and will also be screened to the southern neighbor by the reconstructed fence along the 12th Avenue pathway, in addition to approximately 20-foot separation between structures. And then the upper deck is proposed to be located within the generally the same location, but will have a catwalk-like element added. And this element is only to be used as a circulation element with the intended purpose to move access to the existing deck from the master bedroom to a publicly accessible space within the residence. And again, this is only circulation. It's not intended to be a gathering space. So privacy impacts will be minimized. And just prior to me getting up at the dais to present, we did receive an email from the neighbor to the south with their support. I'd be more than happy to read their correspondence into the record during public comment. But the neighbor to the south did send in an email with support. They were hoping to participate in the hearing, but it just was going a little bit long. So the proposed alterations simplify the roof and building form. Currently, the primary building form is comprised of a total of 3 floor levels, which are proposed to remain. The mansard-like roof volume encapsulates the majority of the building, which adds substantial mass and volume to the already non-conforming building. The applicant is proposing to remove the roof form, which also acts as an extension of the exterior wall cladding, and refinishing the building throughout, which reduces the overall mass of the building while maintaining the existing building form. So while the resulting building is decreasing in mass as a result of the removal of the architectural forms, the applicant is proposing an addition to the uppermost level of the residence. This addition results in an increase in 12 square feet of floor area to the top level. While it's a small addition and likely negligible in terms of visual impacts, this increase in floor area cannot be permitted as the existing residence is already non-conforming in respect to floor area, and the addition would be above the 18-foot height limit prescribed for the beach and riparian overlay district. So the municipal code in respect to non-conforming buildings states that alterations, repairs, or remodeling that enlarge or extend or increase a non-conforming feature of a building shall be prohibited. So in this case, the non-conformity is floor area. So when you have a non-conformity, you cannot make the non-conforming element bigger. Even if some non-conforming element is removed, you can't and then the other part over here, even if you reduce the non-conformity somewhere else, you can't replace it or reestablish it somewhere else on site. And then in respect to height, this is specific to the BR, beach and riparian overlay. All proposed construction shall be limited to a height of 18 feet above the existing or finished grade. In respect to the finished details, the applicant is proposing a mix of stone, natural wood, and then the glass railings. Those are the primary building elements, as well as some bronze architectural metals, metal windows to match, and then I believe these are metal planters on the interior of the lot. So the applicant is proposing a total site coverage of 666 square feet, where 353 square feet of site coverage is allowed, or up to 492 square feet if at least half the materials are permeable or semi-permeable. So this is where the variance request comes in. There are a number of findings to be made. Those specific findings have been outlined in the staff report. The summary of those findings is that the general finding is that because it's a double frontage lot, meaning that it has two street frontages on Scenic and San Antonio, that results in having two front setbacks, as well as the slope of the lot sloping down from San Antonio to Scenic, as well as being undersized. It really creates a certain constraint on the site that greatly limits the amount of site coverage that they can use. Just 492 square feet, even with that bonus, is really limiting in what you can do when you need to consider two stairways. So staff's recommendation is to allow for up to 396 square feet or 556 square feet if at least 50% of the improvements are permeable or semi-permeable, which is what a standard 4,000 square foot lot is afforded. So again, it would be equal to what a standard size lot within the city would be allowed. So the site coverage throughout is proposed to be a combination of mulch, gravel, pavers, stepping stones, concrete, as well as the balconies. There are some inconsistencies between the landscape plan and the site plan. However, staff will work with the applicant to make sure that those are sorted out. The one concern staff does have regarding the proposed site plan is the use of concrete throughout. The residential design guidelines discourage the use of concrete and encourage the use of things like Carmel stone, brick, decomposed granite, pavers, and making sure that water can percolate through whatever basically the site coverage material is. The issue with concrete is it's not characteristic of the village character, and it also doesn't allow for water percolation. So we do have a condition of approval regarding not using concrete as the site coverage material. The applicant is also proposing to reconstruct the non-conforming fence along the 12th Avenue walkway. The fence would be approximately the fence would be constructed on top of a concrete retaining wall. That's this element here. With a wood element that would meet the existing height. The concrete would be 3.5, sorry, I think I mentioned that. Concrete wall would be about 3.5 feet tall, with the fence being the remaining portion. However, in staff's opinion, the concrete would just be out of place and inappropriate. So there's a condition of approval that says that if a retaining wall is needed, the fence should be placed on the outside of the concrete retaining wall, so the fence would basically be reconstructed in kind. So there's no change in appearance over the existing condition. There is a provision in the code that allows for fences to be reconstructed in kind as long as it's documented beforehand. So we'd be allowing that under that provision. And then just some notable conditions of approval. Condition of approval number 1 allows for the variance and the parameters of that. And then we have some standard conditions of approval. We didn't discuss it, but there are some skylights. So there's a standard condition about skylight shades, as well as the treatment of stone with the stone facades. Condition of approval number 15 is not applicable. That was just inadvertently added. Condition of approval number 23, we discussed about the forester review of the landscape plan. Condition of approval 28 requires approval of a drainage plan prior to building permit issuance. And then we get into the special conditions of approval. 34 requires approval of a construction management plan prior to building permit issuance. That would need to be reviewed by Planning and Public Works. That would address things such as traffic, parking, hours of construction, noise, encroachment permits, things of that nature. 35 discusses the removal of that floor area addition we discussed. 36, the concrete site coverage. 37, requirement to remove the right-of-way encroachments on the site, so on. And with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving a combined concept final design study, variance, and associated coastal development permit as described. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, are there any questions from the commissioners for staff? No questions? Okay, thank you, Evan. Okay, would the architect like to come forward and make the presentation?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Craig Holdren with Holdren Leslie Architecture, here representing the Althoffs, Judson and Laura, who are with us tonight. Thank you, Evan. We appreciate your earnest efforts over some period of months here, getting us to this point. It's been an interesting process, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at, and I think you did a great job of getting us through that. I'd like to start my presentation with the observation that the existing house is neither attractive or successful. Its massing, its articulation of form is fundamentally modern. The house has flat roofs now, it has open decks, it has sort of boxy shapes. Yet this modern framework has been draped with awkward period references, cottagey details, and the droopy mansard skirt that kind of walks around on four sides. It projects into the setbacks, the stained glass on a couple windows on the north side, then that sort of organic fantasy eyebrow that kind of looks out towards San Antonio. It's quite awkward. And it makes for a messy anomaly